AITA for not allowing my girlfriend to send her food back for a second time? I, 28 meters, worked the graveyard shift as a corrections officer in a prison. I've been dating my girlfriend, 26F, for just under a year now. About once a week or so some of my coworkers and I like to stop at a local diner to get the bite to eat on the way home. They are very accommodating to us co's and well as our brother cops and other people who work the third shift at an area factory as we give them a lot of business. They happily make burgers, sandwiches, nachos, etc. for us first thing in the morning, which we are all very appreciative of since it's evening time to us. So, the other day I felt like stopping after work. None of my buddies wanted to go, so I texted my girlfriend to see if she wanted me to treat her to breakfast before work. She said that she did, and so we met at the diner. We both ordered the eggs/hash browns/bacon/toast combo. She ordered her eggs halfway between over easy and over medium and her bacon chewy, not crispy but not limp. When the food came she decided that her eggs were too close to medium. She told the server that she wanted them mostly easy but just barely starting to set on the outside so that there are no runny whites. The server took her food back. I was slightly embarrassed because her food was just fine and was what she asked for from what I could see. But I didn't say anything. When the food came the second time she decided that her eggs were still overdone, even though they looked less done than her first batch. The server offered to bring her food back but I interjected, "No, the food's fine. They did a good job." She lead it. Long story short, when we left the restaurant we got into a huge fight. She had to work so we didn't have much of a chance to discuss it. But when she came over later she laid into me about how I had treated her like a child and said that I had no right to decide for her whether or not her order was right. She then accused me of caring more about the server than her and implied that I wanted to have an affair with her, which is crazy since she's at least 40 and I'm pretty sure married with kids. I shot back that she was being way too demanding, that it was embarrassing since I was a regular there, that they did a perfectly good job with her food. It wasn't as if she'd asked for over easy and they gave her scrambled, that it wasn't fair for the restaurant to lose money over her being so picky, etc. The way I see it, if you are going to ask someone else to cook your food you have to give them at least a little leeway. But I can kind of understand what she meant when she said that I had treated her like a child. AITA, edit. I'm a little late with this edit but wanted to thank everyone for taking the time to comment in good faith. Aside from a few bigoted people, and especially for all the awards, I did end up apologizing to her for treating her like a child. I thought that her being that picky was ridiculous but I handled it wrong. However, I told her that I'm not going to want to eat out with her if she's going to act that way. She admitted that she was being difficult and apologized for some of the things she said during the fight. We're good. Eggs are such a nightmare to order, Rimo. Everyone has their own specific preferences, and then you have little dumb ol' Amy who was raised by people who just made up what to call different eggs. The first time I ordered scrambled eggs at a restaurant I was shocked to discover that scrambled isn't an omelet because my mom would always say she was going to make scrambled eggs and then make omelettes. I asked her why she calls them scrambled, and it's because you have to scramble the eggs before you pour them into the pan. Certified Proctologist, 23. I think it's more about the type of restaurant and having appropriate expectations. If you're in a Michelin 3-star restaurant and paying $35 for your eggs, you can expect to have them exactly as you order them. The restaurant is staffed in the kitchen to accommodate detailed requests and does not depend on high turnover as much. The kitchen and serving staff are paid to get it right. If you're in a casual diner that focused on high turnover and quicker service, it is unrealistic to demand such custom service on food. NTA because OP is a frequent customer and maintaining a good relationship is important. How people treat service staff like waiters and hotel staff, like housekeepers, is very indicative of the type of person they are, and more frighteningly, how they'll eventually treat you. NTA, Diner cooks are not professional 5-star chefs from Paris. It's like me sending my McDonald's burger back because it didn't come out medium. Like what? I had someone ask me at the sports bar I worked at for half and half sweet and unsweet sweet tea with a little more sweet than unsweet sweet tea with bacon that wasn't crispy or not crispy but not too hard. I brought it out. They ate nothing. They then tipped me $0 and right before they left they said sorry the bacon was hard and the tea wasn't sweet enough despite me offering them an entirely new meal for free. Restaurants like that aren't the place for requests like that and she's too picky to eat there. It's really hard to get eggs to some mystical place of 3 points under medium but with no whites left uncooked. While running a restaurant full of people, that kind of alt-picky order is just too much. As a server who has had that egg order more than a few times, I got yelled at by my boss every time I put in the order. So thank you to everyone out there who won't stick with easy/medium/hard. You have filled my life with anxiety. The amount of times I've had to apologize to the kitchen on your behalf would shock you. I don't know if I would continue dating someone who was so inconsiderate and demanding. It's one thing to get bad food, the wrong order. That is fair. It's a whole other thing to do this. Participant 3. I'm going to go against the grain here and say a soft TSH. Here's why. Dude, I was embarrassed for you. What the heck is not crispy but not limp bacon? I totally get why you're uncomfortable with her demands. I was frustrated for the poor server and the cook. So, she gets to be an in this situation, albeit not a huge one because she clearly has very particular feelings about her food. Maybe she needs to recalibrate her expectations of this sort of establishment, or find a better way to communicate what she expects. Which brings me to you. I am going to give you a soft too, because you did patronize her. Instead of cutting her off and overruling her, you should have just been honest. You could have said something like, babe, please. I'm a regular here and I really like these people. I feel like you're being too demanding and I'm embarrassed. I'm worried about it being awkward next time I visit. Something along those lines. Instead you spoke over her and embarrassed her. A lose-lose situation. It's a little worrying that she went to the affair scenario. She sounds very anxious. Maybe there's something else on her mind. All in all, this is hopefully just a learning experience for you both and you enjoy many happy breakfasts together. I think your alternative response sounds more reasonable when read, but he would still be cutting her off. She still would have been embarrassed and she still would have been angry. His girlfriend was being rude, overly demanding and a general pain in the ass. I think did fine by trying to end this interaction quickly and decisively. His girlfriend was being entirely unreasonable in her requests and was using the customer service dynamic to flex on the restaurant staff. She knew what she was doing and felt very comfortable doing it. Had no intention of being associated with her bullshit, and instead of projecting tacit support by remaining silent, he chose to take action. He could have chosen to say something closer to your more measured alternative, but in the moment he did what he had to in order to support the server, restaurant and to curtail his girlfriend's behavior. And I think it is important to point out that the more measured alternative was likely to devolve into a back and forth between and his girlfriend while dragging the faultless server along for the ride. Instead, he provided the server with the opportunity to disengage from the situation and to move on to her other tables. At this point was free to explain his position in a more nuanced manner while saving the server from the awkwardness of having to witness the conversation. To be clear, I think your approach is perfectly legitimate, empathetic and well-reasoned, but his approach had its advantages too. You're right about this. I empathize with because he sounds like me and this sounds like some shit I would say. But there were definitely more appropriate ways to talk to your GF, especially in public. Also, it can be argued that your first concern when being accused of cheating should have been that you're committed to your relationship, not that the other woman isn't attractive enough for you to consider cheating with. I say this with all the empathy in the world because I see myself in this poster and it's something I've been trying to change about myself. ESH. That said, I'd be so mortified to be out to eat with this woman, since I'm also a woman and not dating her. If this was my experience, I'd probably just never go out to eat with her again. And if we were dating and when I didn't like her being unreasonable with service staff, she accused me of wanting to have an affair with the service staff, I'd run. She honestly sounds like an exhausting asshole to date. And I do understand Op was put on the spot. He didn't have time for a whole side conversation with her about how he was irregular, since after she sent back the first set of eggs, which was a surprise, he then fairly I feel assumed that would be the end of it. So let it go. But then they come back with new eggs and she wants to send them back again, and he's just completely caught off guard. So now he has to say something in that moment where the waiter is going to go back to the kitchen to make another set, and no matter what he says, no matter how polite and gentle, he is contradicting how she is handling her meal right in front of the waiter, and that's always going to be embarrassing for her, and she's always going to feel undermined by that, because it's him making clear that she's behaving so boorishly that he feels he has to step in, and that's never going to be something people like. The bottom line is he doesn't trust her to act polite in public like one would a reasonable adult, and it's hard to soften that. Edit. To be clear, the only mistake in my mind is saying she leaked it, since that's not his call, but he was absolutely right to say no. The food is fine, they did a good job, and then I'd probably have also apologized to the waiter. I don't think he was really in a position to have a whole side discussion as suggested, so no matter what, he was cutting her off and undermining her. Oh dude. The Ops GF responded as poorly as she did when the Op gave a response to try and save face for the both of them. The server was standing there waiting for a response to their question of whether Ops GF wanted the food returned or not, unless you'd also plan to cut off her decision and ask the server to come back in a minute, or let her send the food back a second time so you can speak privately. You'd be airing out the "you're being too demanding and I'm embarrassed" line right in front of the server, and that'd probably have been much worse if she was already embarrassed. To Op's honestly graceful approach. Totally agree here. I feel like Op would have avoided any chance of being the odd just by addressing his girlfriend rather than the waiter, but the girlfriend sounds like a piece of work. I'm very concerned about her accusation about the affair. I think it may be a bit generous to say maybe there's something on her mind, because she was just derailing the conversation to put the blame off herself and onto Op. It's a manipulation tactic. If this is normal behavior for her, Op, then you should be rethinking the relationship. That pattern of manipulation in arguments is a warning sign that her behavior may eventually escalate into abuse. Thank you. Agreed that TSH. Yes, it's super embarrassing, but he should never have patronized her and spoken for her. That's equally as embarrassing for her. I have crazy dietary restrictions from my disability. Doesn't sound like that's the case in this situation. However, I'm self-conscious about it because I used to be a server and I know how annoying it can be. I often have to ask a lot of questions about the ingredients of a dish and it can be super awkward. I've had several boyfriends make snide comments to or in front of the server, and it's so mortifying. I think she obviously lashed out because she was embarrassed, but also something else could have been upsetting her. From my experience, 90% of the time, it's a power move. They'd be cool with eating food slightly not to their specifications at home, but when you have a service worker to shit on, then you can feel better about yourself because you can treat them like a servant. It's entirely about flexing on people who have to take your shit because otherwise they get fired. It's really sad. I have to be particular about shit in restaurants because I have celiac disease, but I try to be as polite about it as I can. Servers are people too, damn it. Participant 2, ESH. She's way more of an here. It is ridiculous and rude to send your food back twice over something like how eggs are cooked like that. It's not like they came back scrambled. She also should have been considering that you're a regular there. Then she upped the ridiculousness by accusing you of an affair. Even if she's 95% the asshole, it doesn't excuse your 5%. Talking over somebody and making decisions for them no matter their gender or relationship with you is wrong and condescending. She's not a child. If she wants to make a fool of herself, Let her. You could have just let her be and asked and apologized to the server for her behavior right there. She would probably still be mad, but she'd be 100% in the wrong then. Participant 2. ESH. You could have had a more tactical approach, such as just tip the waiter some more, and talk about it after you left. That you felt embarrassed is a fair and understandable feeling, especially because you are a regular and you don't want to ruin your reputation with the staff. But also your girlfriend has an extremely particular way she wants her eggs, and she should definitely be aware that her entire order was particular and would probably not come out perfect. I usually live by the idea that if I have something I'm super picky with, I'll only cook it myself and never order it. For me, it's pasta sauce I only like my own. I think your girlfriend acted spoiled and entitled by sending her food back twice for a minor detail. As you said, if she had wanted easy eggs and gotten scrambled, it would be another story. But she just wanted slightly more easy eggs. Just don't bring her to that dinner again. Okay, I've been a server for years, and these are the fried egg options. US, sunny side up, over easy, over medium and over well, hard. This is already a spectrum. Ordering in between these is a dick move, and TA for siding with the server. On another note, I think your girlfriend thinks over easy and sunny side up are the same thing. They're not, but common enough misunderstanding. Mostly easy but no runny whites is over easy. If there were runny whites, it would be sunny side up. Therefore, her eggs were going to seem overdone every time because she was getting exactly what she ordered. Overdone, over easy eggs, between O and Next time, tell her to just order over easy. I feel like this is definitely a region thing though, even though it shouldn't be. In my hometown, over medium will get you cooked whites, runny yolks. Over easy, your whites will be runny but your egg will have been flipped. Sunny side up is only cooked from one side, which may be how those are done normally. I hate runny whites, so I'm not sure where I am now to get a hometown medium. Sometimes I just give in and call them the local term dippy eggs, because depending on the restaurant and cook-on staff will determine what you get. For some, over easy is as you described, no runny whites, but not everywhere. I thought for the longest time maybe it was just an off order, but it happened enough I just learned to change my order. Participant 3. ESH. You did treat her like a child and were openly disrespectful to her, while she was inconsiderate of the fact that every time she sent back her food, it forced you to choose between eating without her and letting your food get cold, not to mention possibly backing up the kitchen. I realize you appreciate the staff and don't want to cause them trouble, but you did put your concern for them over your concern for your girlfriend, and I doubt her behavior was all that uncommon there, as people can be very particular about their eggs. Colorectal surgeon, 40. ESH. Your girlfriend does seem to be being overly picky about her eggs, and I don't blame you for being annoyed, and her response about the affair is obviously over the top and bananas, but your girlfriend was right that saying no, she lead that to a server while pretending your girlfriend isn't right there in front of you is treating her like a child. I would definitely prickle at my husband telling any third party that she'd do anything while I was standing right there in the rear shot. If you'd asked the server to give you a minute and then been like, look, this place is important to me and you're being ridiculous, please stop sending your food back and eat these perfectly decent eggs, she'd be the only asshole in the scenario. So here's the tricky thing. Speaking as someone in the service industry, you are correct when ordering at a restaurant you should give a little leeway. Though if the customer is being nice and asking that something be fixed, then it's usually not a big deal. Unless the restaurant is just slammed with people, then it's just annoying, but it happens. However, you did treat her like a child by interjecting the way you did. She did overreact when you all fought about it by claiming you wanted to have an affair with the server. I'm going with ESH because you both could have and should have handled it differently. As someone who was in the service industry, I agree with you. The only thing I'm not sure I agree with is whether Op's girlfriend actually overreacted when she claimed he wanted to have an affair with the waitress. Op specifically omitted any mention of his interaction with the waitress. He almost mentioned that he's a regular there. In my experience, Regulars often act with a lot of familiarity with the fall staff. Some will even use pet names, terms of endearment with the female staff. Some will touch your arm, flirt, etc. without having any info on his interaction with the waitress. I don't think we can say if his girlfriend overreacted or not. I mean, she did to an extent because Up was probably not asking for the waitress' phone number in front of his girlfriend, but his behavior could also have been flirty. From what I can see, the GF was being excessively picky, but it sounds like she and the server were handling it just fine between the two of them and she wasn't being aggressive or rude to the waitstaff. If you have an issue with her demands or communication style, bring that up with her, but don't overrule her to a third party in public. If you're a regular, you can even apologize to the waitstaff next time you go. As for the fight, I am shocked that no one else has pointed out that your response to being accused of wanting to cheat isn't that you simply would not cheat, but that woman is too old? It sounds like her cheating accusation might not exist in a vacuum. ESH. And she's lucky she didn't come here. My boss would refuse to remake it the second time, and give her an earful about wasting his time. If the kitchen can't get the meal right after one redo, chances are she's either not explaining herself well enough or they physically cannot do it for some reason. Most restaurants are not that incompetent, or they wouldn't be in business. In this case, I think it was the latter. Eggs cook fast, and realistically, a cook does not have time to sit there watching them until the exact right second to take them off. They're cooking other meals, not just yours, so it's not really possible for them to hit the exact amount of time on the stove that she was looking for. With something like eggs, there's going to be some leeway on either side. If she can't handle that, she needs to cook her own eggs, because no restaurant is going to babysit her order like that. They don't have time. The only reason it's CSH is because of the way you phrased it. You should have just been honest with her. You're being unrealistic and it's embarrassing me. Please just let it go, or order something else.